Okay, so for this assembly, for us to get started here, the first thing we want to do is install our shifter drum and the paw mechanism into this bearing. We want to make sure that this bearing is properly lubricated, so I'm just going to take some regular 30-weight motor oil and make sure that we get a little bit of oil in there. Seems like my oil can was left empty. Never want to put an engine together dry. Ever, ever, ever. Because when it first starts up, before the oil pump gets a chance to take hold, you want to make sure that we already have some oil in there. So we'll start out, we'll get a little bit of oil in this bearing where our shift drum rides. Then our shift drum installs from the inside to the out. Then we have to put our paw assembly on, and there's a screw that goes down through the middle which will hold it all together. It's a little bit tricky, but if you lay things out correctly, you can usually just drop this pin right in. Then we'll put our screw temporarily, because this has to get Loctite on it and torque to a specific value. But just for general assembly instruct here, we're going to go ahead and put our shift drum, our paw, whoops. And this is our actual neutral indicator. We want to make sure that that's installed as well. And then we'll just run our screw down, and that will hold this all together for the time being. Like I said, later we'll come along and we'll tighten it down to its specified torque. Now this paw is responsible for the gear positions. That high spot right there, if the camera will show it, is neutral. And it'll be first, neutral, second, third, fourth. They want you to put this in and install it in the neutral position. So our shift drum is installed. Our next task is going to be to lubricate the bearings, and we're going to go ahead and put our transmission shafts into the engine. So this is our input from our clutch, which will go in this one, and this is our counter shaft, or our output, and that's going to go in this one right here. So again, we're going to lubricate the bearings. Never put a dry engine, never put an engine together dry. So we can drop our clutch shaft in. I'm sorry. Drop our input shaft from the clutch in. And we'll drop our output shaft in. Oftentimes you have to put them in together. Okay, we want to make sure that they're seated all the way down in there like that. And maybe put a block of wood under here. So that our shaft is not pushing outward. So we just want to make sure that this shaft doesn't want to come up. Okay, now I'm going to rotate the engine around a little bit so that you can hopefully zoom in on, this is our shift drum. These are our gears. We have 2 shift forks and a pin. These shift forks are what are going to be responsible for moving our gears up and down to select the gear which we want. And the larger one goes towards the rear. And we'll have to drop into the shift. Same with the one for the forward gear. And sometimes you have to play around with them to get them to go. It doesn't always just drop right in magically. You got to find that ideal way of assembling so that you can get them into their position. Might even have to, in this case here, we've got to pull our transmission assembly back out. Get our shift forks in line. And then, hopefully, carefully, get everything to drop into place. Now there's 2 grooves in the shift drum, and our shift forks have to line up. And then we'll slide our pin in. And we'll slide our pin in all the way down and into the boss on the other side of the case. Again, lots of oil. So that's our transmission assembly. You have your input from your clutch. You have your output to your final drive. We have our shift forks. There's 2 of them, and they ride in the shift drum. And by rotating our shift drum, I can select the gears that I'm looking for.